welcome to Chair Yoga. My name's Anne, I'm coming to you from Hermetica Forever Fit. So we are going to start in a chair, but just briefly, and then we're going to stand. I don't want to keep us seated too long because we're going to focus on all the fundamentals of yoga, which include opening up the front of the hip. Come into a seated position with the feet pushing down. We're going to build each week on the foundation, which starts at your feet. So pushing your feet down into the floor at the four corners. If this is new to you, I'll allow it to be slow enough to pick up. If it's review, it's still good review because it takes years to get this. The ball of the big toe, the ball of the little toe, the inner and the outer heel, those 4 points, you want to have a lot of contact with the floor to the point where they feel like they're pushing down into the floor. And then lift up your toes. So if you don't want to take your shoes off, you can just you don't want to take your socks off, you can just take your shoes off. You could do this with shoes on. You could, but just flare your toes within the shoe. You definitely don't want a heel on. You don't want a woman's pump or a pointed shoe on, because that's what's going to restrict your balance and restrict your mobility in your feet and your ankles. So pushing the four corners of the feet down, flare your toes, lift your heart, and with that push down into the floor, you feel this corresponding tone glide up through your legs, and then this lift from the crown of your head. Find the front of your pelvis. There's 2 hip bones there, right in the front bony prominence, and you're just going to try to lift one leg and then lift the other without moving those hip bones, so you get the mobility going, warming up a little bit. And then going to allow for some deeper stretches. When you put your foot back down, instead of just putting it down, press down into the earth. You're probably on carpet or your floor. Press down into the ground below you. Just do one more. Okay, now hinge back, and we're going to stand up right away. So come into a standing position. This standing posture is called Tadasana, standing for mountain pose. Your feet are going to be about 2 fists apart. You don't have to measure it, but that's about the ideal placement. 2 fists apart, or your heels would be hip socket distance apart. That's the ideal placement for what we're going to do with our mountain pose. So you feel the feet pushing down again, and then just pick up one heel and push it down, and then pick up your other heel and push it down without shifting the hips from side to side. So remember those hip bones that we worked on seated? We're trying to keep those ASIS bones, these bones right here, we're trying to keep them still. Using a little core muscle to do that. Not a ton, but a little. I know that we're not going to work so hard that you're going to sweat, but we're going to work hard enough to heat just enough that the body is more receptive to the mobility, the stretches that are coming our way. Okay, now keep both feet planted down on the ground and try to flare your 10 toes on each foot. And I'm going to rock more of the weight back into my heels. And then now put the toes down and lift up your heels a tad. Maybe you want to hold on to your desk or your chair. Roll back. If your chair happens to have wheels and it has brakes on it, you want to put your brakes on for yoga class. If it doesn't have brakes, just be aware that maybe use a desk or a table when I fold forward. Hinge back, lift up your toes, rise up your heels, and then come on back into mountain pose. Root down both feet, the 4 corners of both feet like we talked about in the chair. Bring your hands to your hips. Hips are square, float up one leg. This is the same movement that we did seated. Only this time there's a little more balance, a little more strength required. Working on mobility in your hip. Pick your leg up as high as it wants to go, and then root that foot back down. Lift and lower. So each class will have a little different flair to it. Today's practice is more about the foundation. Foundation of yoga, the foundation of your poses, which is usually going to be your feet. Could be your hands if you're doing a headstand or handstand. Could be the chair if you put your hands in the chair. But for today's practice, it's the feet. Feel the feet pushing down into the floor. You could close your eyes for what's coming. Watch once, and then if you want to close your eyes, you can. Feel your whole body lean into your right foot. Keeping your left foot on the floor, come on back. And then it's like there's wind at your side and you're blowing into the other side. Come back to the center. Do that again. So really tune in to how your feet feel with this. Can your feet feel broad? Do you feel any discomfort? Come back to the center, and then you're going to lean back as though the wind's at your front side, and you lean back into your heels. Now the wind's at your back, and you lean into the balls of the toes. We're going to try to move with the breath. So inhale into one direction, and exhale the other direction. Take your time. The thing about yoga is I'm not using music. You don't have to go with me. You're moving to your breath. If you want music on at your chair in your area, you can turn it on your phone. I'm just not turning it on so we can stay focused on our breath and not feeling like you have to move at a certain pace. Come to the center. Now we put those movements together. Hinge forward, and then you make this big circle. With the crown of the head as though you're drawing a circle with the crown of the head on the ceiling. One of the axioms of yoga is learning how to be less reactive to a stress that comes your way. So your feet are working, your legs are toned, but my neck and my jaw, my throat, soft. Another focal point, go the other way with your circle, is trying to give yourself this session, this 30 minutes, to let go of your morning, let go of your afternoon, and just come right here into the present time. Feeling helps. I'm feeling the floor against my feet. I'm feeling the breath go in and out through my nose. The breath is a tool that you have with you 24/7. So center on it, a tool to manage the stress, to stay in the present moment. Center on your breath. Come back into the middle point. And now you're going to circle both arms up overhead. Look up towards the ceiling. Exhale, look down towards the floor. If you can see your toes, wiggle them. Flare them out. One more time. Inhale. Look up towards the ceiling. And then exhale. Bring your hands down. Next time I'm going to rise up to the balls of the feet. Inhale, rise up. And I'm just going to look forward so I don't lose my balance. And exhale, lower down. Do that 2 more times. I inhale and reach up. Exhale, push down the inner and outer edges of your heels. One more time. Inhale, reaching, flaring fingers and toes. Exhale, come on down to Tadasana, mountain pose. Now we're going to pretend like you're going to sit in a chair, but you're not really. Sit back into chair pose, Utkatasana. Mighty, powerful pose. It's like a chair. Dig your thumbs into your hip crease and sink back. In this position, I want more weight into my heels. So I do that toe flare like we worked on. More weight into your heels. Reach your arms either forward, or if it feels right, they can reach upward. Come into a little back bend here. Bring your hands to your pelvis. And now we're going to fold forward and touch something. It could be your thighs. It could be your chair. It could be a desk or a table. And then shift your weight more forward. So now the weight's more in the balls of my feet. You don't have to bounce like I'm doing, but just so you know, the weight's more forward into the balls of the toes. And then we shift weight back into your heels and sink back down into the chair pose. This is our warm-up sequence. Bring your hands to the chair and more weight into the balls of the toes. Bring your weight into your heels. Bring your sits bones and your hips back. Back into chair pose. We've got one more. Let's do the breath with this. I exhale and I come into my forward fold. I inhale and I reach the arms up. Come all the way up to standing. Keep inhaling and swing your arms down the side. Okay, bend your knees and just let your arms swing and hit. I call this dangling rope. Just a time to release and let go. In the event that you have to sit for a good portion of your day and your hips get kind of tight, we're going to always do a little bit for the hip flexors, just to get that opening. Always do a little bit for the length of the spine so that we don't get settled in that rounded, hunched position. So I'm going to step forward so you can see the back position. You need a little bit of room behind you. Come into mountain pose with a little bit of room behind you. You can be right behind a desk or just anywhere that you have space. Just say a couple feet. Hug in, put all the weight into your left foot and pick up your right foot. Shoot it forward a little bit, bring it in, and now take it behind you. Let the balls of the toes come to the floor. So the toes are flared, the balls of the toes are on the floor, and circle your arms up. Breathe in. Circle your arms down. Just one more. Inhale, circle your arms up. Exhale, you can grab onto your chair, your waist, or whatever works for support, and step back into Tadasana, mountain pose. Come into mountain pose and just stand. Take a moment before we do the second side to feel the weight equally pushing down into both feet, into the four corners of both feet. Lift up your belly, circle both arms up, nice and easeful. Circle both arms down, hug in or hold on to your chair. Shift the weight into your right foot, pick up your left leg, and drive it forward. Bring your knee in towards your chest, and then step it behind you a little bit further. If you feel unsteady, grab something, push the four corners of your front foot down into the floor. Back foot, just the toes and the balls of the toes. Inhale, circle arms up. Exhale, just think of pushing that front foot down, the four corners of the feet, especially your heel. Inhale, circle arms up. That's going to keep you steady. Exhale, push down your front foot into the floor. Hands to hips, step your back leg forward. Bend your knees and let your arms swing and hit. Like dangling ropes. Okay, come back to Tadasana. This mountain pose, I'm going to bring my feet a little closer because it's going to assist with the balance pose that's coming our way. Bring your hands to your hips. Slide your right leg forward in front of you. Just it can be off the ground an inch, doesn't matter. Bring your feet together. Slide it behind you. Again, maybe an inch. Slide it forward. When you bring it in, it comes right through mountain pose. Take a second or a breath to have the feet in the floor, and then take it back. Now you're going to swing it. Just let it go. Swing it. Maybe you let your upper body rock a little bit, moving with the groove here, or maybe you just stay upright. Maybe you hold on to a chair or something in the side. So we're toning the standing leg and building mobility in the floating leg. Come back into Tadasana. Feel weight into both feet. Circle both arms up. Sink down into your chair pose. We did this before, our chair pose. Inhale, come up. Exhale, bring your hands to your hips. Draw in everything to the midline. Root down the four corners of your right foot so that your other leg's free to swing. It doesn't matter how high. Just getting a little movement there in your hip, strength and stability in your standing leg. And then maybe go a little faster, maybe swing your arms. If balance is a struggle for you, what I suggest to people who feel like balance is a struggle for you, to not even acknowledge that. Usually in yoga we acknowledge things. But when I work with people who say, I can't balance, guess what? Then they can't balance. So just work with what balance you have. And maybe go a little slower. You can toe tap if you're struggling with it. If there's no struggle, maybe go a little higher. Bring your feet together. Sink down into a chair pose. Put your arms where you want them. They can stay here. They can reach forward. Heels push down. Heels push down. Inhale, stand up and separate your feet back to the mountain pose where your feet are hip socket distance apart. That two fist. Cactus your arms. Reach up. Swan dive your arms down and touch the chair, the desk, or your thighs. Push your feet down, circle both arms up. We're going to keep the legs right here and sink back into the heels into a chair pose. Keep the arms right there. Inhale, come on up. Exhale, forward fold you go. Bend your knees, Sink back into your chair pose, put the weight into the heels, reach your arms up, and then circle your arms down. Separate your feet again, so a little wider now, wider than mountain pose, and let your arms swing and hit. Today's practice has a little less seated in the chair, so we can really work on that foundation, the feet. And then we're just going to go up the body so we get everything worked with consecutive weeks, but starting with our feet. Okay, find a still point. Now your feet are a little wider than your hip sockets. At this point, the toes are facing forward. Hug in. Pick up your right foot. Turn out from the top of your thigh and your weight's in your heel. Turn it back in. Do that one more time. Lift, turn out, and now lower it. Push down the four corners of both feet. Take your arms to the side and reach your left hand, that's your right hand, sorry, your bottom hand to your bottom thigh. And your other arm's going to go up. Trikonasana, triangle. Hold. Push your feet down. There's your foundation. And feel that corresponding tone. Lift the legs, lift the core. Don't worry about how far you are. If you want to go farther, you can, but you don't worry about it. Reverse your triangle, so you take your front arm and reach it up. Come on back. Turn all 10 toes to the front. Pick up your other foot, I think that's your left foot, and then turn, pivot on your heel. Put the foot down. Pick up the toes. Turn, put the foot down. Pick up your toes, turn out the thigh, put the foot down. So now your toes are facing away from you. Push down your feet, just hug in. And all we're doing is standing here, flaring your toes, pushing down the four corners of the feet, lifting up the corresponding tone, knees to femur bone, navel up, extend your arms, and come into triangle on this side. You could go deeper if you want. I'm staying a little high, keeping the hand on the thigh. You could go bigger if you want into a deeper triangle, but I'm going to demonstrate a little more gentle approach here. And then come into reverse triangle. Push your feet down. Come on back up. Turn the toes all to face forward and zigzag your feet in. Bend your knees and just let your arms swing again. Okay, we have one more standing posture. And then we'll return to the chair. Okay, come into mountain pose with your feet hip socket distance. And again, you're going to have some space behind you for warrior one. Turn your right thigh out. Turn it in. So we're just practicing that rotation from your hip joint. Ground your heel. Turn it out. Now push that foot down. Front foot's just facing forward at 12 o'clock. Take that turned out leg and step it back. Doesn't matter how far. Whatever room you have is fine. Your front knee has to be over your front ankle. I'm going to show you side view. Push the four corners of the front foot down. That way you're going to protect your knee and use your muscles. Push the four corners of the back foot down, but especially the outer edge, the pinky toe side. So then we're going to get a lengthened, long muscle. Inhale, arms come up. Reach. Exhale, arms come down. You can drop your chin to your chest. Inhale, arms come up. This time, hold your arms. They could be in a cactus. They could be in a V. They could be here. This is warrior one, exalted warrior. Push your feet down. So that's our focus today, feeling the foundation. If my feet are wobbly, the rest of the body is going to be wobbly. If my feet are grounded, I have a strong foundation. Bring your hands to your hips. Pick up your back heel and step your foot in. Other side, turn out your other foot. Step it back. Make sure your front knee is on top of your front ankle. I'm going to show you side view. Push down. So it's not going to give you enough stability just to put your feet here. Push down the four corners of the feet. Maybe even lift up your toes. Maybe just your big toe. Push down your back foot, particularly the pinky toe side, and maybe pick up your back big toe. Circle arms up. If you feel comfortable with it, look up. Circle arms down. Exhale. One more. Inhale, circle arms up. And hold your arms. They can be together or apart, whatever feels nice for the broadness of your heart. If you're at a desk a lot, it's probably better to be here so you feel that opening. Bring your hands to your hips, push down into your front foot. So the weight's all going to go in your front foot. Your back foot's free to lift up and come back to mountain pose. Okay, now you get to sit down again in your chair. Okay, and reestablish the connection with the ground. So the four corners of the feet are going to push back into the chair, or back into the floor. Moving the awareness up into another foundation here, which would be your sits bones. So your sits bones, those bony protrusions on the bottom of your pelvis, those are feeling in contact with the chair. You're going to roll around a little bit, however you want, free movement. Maybe you want to do a little pelvic tilt here, so you can feel the contact of the sits bones with the chair. At the same time, feel the contact with the feet, with the earth, with your floor. Come into steady, where your pelvis is neutral, and you feel your feet push down, you feel your sits bones push down. Whatever portion of your thighs are on the chair, feel those push down. And all that pressed down creates a tone corresponding to lift up. Okay, just find that and hold and breathe. That's all you have to do right now. See if you can keep your focus in the here and now on your breath. With the feet pushing down, a little bit of thighs pushing down, sits bones just feel equal balance on both sits bone. And breathe. Lift up 2 heels. I'm doing this with my hands in case my feet don't show. Lower your heels, lift up 10 toes. One more time. Lift up 2 heels. Lift up 10 toes. Flare your feet down. Now if you're on wheels, you're just going to hold on. We are going to do a sit to stand. Hinge back, so we're seated. Root down your feet. That's got to be powerful push. Push down to lift straight back up. Bring your feet closer into Tadasana. Bring your hands to your hips. Float your right leg up. So now we are just pushing down to the 4 corners of the left foot. Tree pose. Open up your leg to the side and place your foot wherever you want to, but with the approach of thinking, this foot's taking priority. It's pushing down. So if this standing foot is wobbling, go ahead and put this foot lower. The goal is not to put your foot any particular way. It's to feel strong foundation on your standing foot today. So that's our focus. Bring your hands to your heart. I'm going to put my foot here so you can see it. I like this position because it'll stretch out the sole of the foot, called this forced arch, where you can put the sole of the foot into this stretch. So that's an option. My foot's on the ground. My standing foot is really stable. If you want to challenge your balance, you can put your foot somewhere else, and that's fine too. But see how I'm kind of swaying? I'm going to steady it by pushing my standing foot down, like roots of a tree. Okay, release. Soft, wide stance. This is always a good thing to do daily. If you need a quick break, take a dangling rope side to side. Bring your feet in. Tadasana. Push down your other foot. We're going to call this one-legged Tadasana. Just lift up one leg, and you're in your one-legged mountain pose. Find steadiness. Find rooted. Open your leg. And again, if you want that foot stretched, go ahead and put your foot on the floor. If you happen to wear high-heeled shoes, this is something you're going to need to stretch out the fascia of the foot. Or you can put it here, or you can put it here. Put it where you want it. I'm going to keep it down so we can really focus on that standing foot stability. Bring your hands to your heart. Lift your heart. If you feel a little swaying like we did in the beginning, well, that's okay, because trees sway. Just try to center yourself back in the center. Come back into Tadasana. Hands by your side. Work your way right in front of your chair because you're going to sit down from mountain pose. Unless you have wheels, and then just hold on how you need to. Before you sit, feel the firmness of the legs by pushing the feet down into the floor. Just by pushing those 4 corners. If we walk like this or like this, it can tend to mess up our ankles. So we're trying to keep the ankles pushed down. lower down, have a seat. Scooch more towards the front edge of your chair and pick up just your right leg. Rotate your right ankle. It was a lot of work we did for the ankles. Now we're just building the mobility in your ankle. Other way. Okay, if this works, cross. If it doesn't work, you're going to skip that and just do however you can. Flare your fingers. See if it works. You have a couple choices. You can just massage your foot, or you can flare your fingers and see if they will fit between each toe. A good exercise for your foot. So we're trying to get that sole of the foot open. I'm going to show you another option. It might not work if the hip doesn't want to go here. You can take your elbow and give yourself a foot massage, or your fingers and give yourself a foot massage. There's reflex points on the feet, and if you don't mind touching your feet, it's a great way to relax the body. Or this toe spreading thing that I'm doing here is good too to open up the feet, especially if you're in a tight shoe. So you're in one of those options now, or you can just enjoy this stretch. Okay, we're going to switch sides. Bring up your other leg. Cross it. So we're getting a little hip stretch here as a bonus. Really flex your ankle. Bring it back to center. Rotate your ankle. So if the cross of the ankle over the knee hurts, then just don't do it. Stay with your ankle rotation or just trying to reach your foot. Otherwise, cross it, fingers flare, and settle in the toe, a finger between each toe. And then try to sit up straight and tall. Breathe and relax this hip. Push down into this foot, your bottom foot. If you can reach your foot, do your little foot massage. I like the elbow because it saves on the finger joint and the thumb joint, and it can allow for more pressure. But if that doesn't reach, then just do whatever motion you can reach for the care of your feet. Okay, release that and bring your feet down. Take one foot and tuck it underneath you. We worked a lot with the feet, so you want to get those toes separated, tuck it underneath you, stretching a little bit in the front of the hip. If this is available to you in your chair situation, you could tuck your toes underneath you and take it to the side. If this hurts your knee, bring it back to the center. I'm going to go to the other side real quick before I lose connection. Go to the other side, stretch your toes. And again, if it works, you can go here. Just a nice little foot opener. Bring yourself back to center. Hope your feet feel better, and we have a strong foundation to continue with our yoga. Circle your arms up over your head. Breathe in. Exhale, draw your hands to your heart. Namaste. If you have another moment, I'm watching the clock, then you can just sit here for a moment and breathe. If not, enjoy the rest of your day.